everybody, so today we are going to be learning how to make a coloring page of your book. Now, if you are not the illustrator, you will need permission from your illustrator to do this, or they may want to do it for you. Depending on your contract, you may not be able to trace over their illustration. But if it's your own illustration, we are going to go over how to make a coloring book. My goodness, if you guys can hear the craziness in the background, those are my cats wrestling. They love to be the most active whenever I turn on a microphone. So what I've done is I've put in my image on an 8.5 by 11 sized canvas for Photoshop. So 8.5 by 11 is typical sized computer paper. This is going to be what you'll want to use for your drawing. Second, we want to go to our brush and make sure the hardness is at 100%. This means it's going to be a really stiff line. Oh my goodness, they are being crazy. We're also going to want to make sure the opacity is at 100. So let's get our brush. I'm gonna use something about 25. So we want our line to be thick enough for them to see, but not thin enough to where it won't print well. So that looks like a big, nice outline to me. Now, I like putting smoothing at 54. What smoothing does is when you draw a straight line, your hand has natural shakes. But with smoothing, it sort of helps you get rid of those, especially if you are using a drawing tablet. My tablet is the Wacom Intuos CTL 4100, so it is not one of the ones where I can draw on the screen, so sometimes I get shaky when I am drawing. So all we're going to do is just start tracing our characters. Actually, I'm starting to think that line may be just a little bit too thick. So let me turn it down to 20. That was a little bit shaky. Okay, so when you're doing things like the eyes, you can turn it down to about half of the size. That way, they're not as big and thick of lines as the others are. I also like to leave the pupils open sometimes, that way kids can color them in. So if I change this, I can see what I've got so far, which looks good. Now, if it's a little bit hard to see where you're drawing, what you can do is on your layer where you have your drawing, you can turn the opacity down a little bit, and it sort of makes it easier for you to see. Like, I forgot the nose. It makes you easier to see what elements you can keep working on. I'm gonna make it big again. Finish her hair. So I'm creating these coloring book pages for the 1-year anniversary of Save the Ocean. I am really excited and I cannot believe it's only been a year, but I also cannot believe it's already been a year. I don't know how I feel both ways about it at the same time. Part of me feels like this was a lifetime ago, but then again, it feels like yesterday. So now we're back to 20. Now I am going to improvise a little bit because I want her tail to be completely on the page. Ooh. I thought that was cool. So let's see. Cool. Looks good so far. Now if you guys care, you can go through with an eraser and sort of clean up these lines that get a little funky where you start and finish. Personally, since this is just a free download, those little lines aren't going to bother me too much. But you can always just play back and forth a little bit, but I wouldn't make yourselves crazy, especially if you are just offering it as a free activity. Anything is really cool to have, and it doesn't have to be perfect. But now that I mention it, I can't stop cleaning mine up. I think that looks pretty good. Now, if you want, you can always fill in your character's eyes. Actually might look a little bit better that way. Sometimes I don't like to, but since these are pupils, I'll just go ahead and color them in black. I didn't like that as when I was a kid, having them already colored in, but sometimes I feel like, especially this audience is really young, sometimes they can color them in a color that's not black, and then the characters will look really scary. So we'll help them out a little bit. And that also depends for your age group. If you have an older age group, I could go through and make every single one of these a line, to give them more exciting things to color in. But it's up to you and how far you want to take your illustration or coloring page. So I'm not super worried about perfectly tracing my coral. I think as long as I have the general idea. And then I am just going to do a few jellyfishes in here. The jellyfish, their tentacles you can't really color them in because they're too thin. Do one right there, and we'll do another jellyfish. Here, we'll color in that back coral. I like the sound effects. This is what happens when I get caught up in illustrating. So since this back coral is really different, you can sort of make up things, and if your illustrations have stuff like those pixels or a fade or a natural brush, you can always switch it up to make it more coloring book friendly. And like this one wasn't super friendly for coloring books, so we'll just change how this plant looks. Cool. Let's take away the background. Awesome. So I want to move Kalisha up because there's a lot going on the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is go to my lasso tool, and I am just going to roughly trace around the elements I want to move, like that. I'm gonna go back to my move tool and just move her up a little bit. That way we have a nice full coloring page and there's not as much weird space. Cool. So her and Ogwe are definitely thicker outlined, which I like because it helps them stand out, especially when you're coloring. It will really bring your eyes into the characters and then a pretty background. I'm actually gonna I was thinking about moving them back down. Yeah. I'm going to leave out that jellyfish and just hit them down a few notches. There we go. Okay. And actually, I'm gonna make them just a tad bit smaller so they're not as close to the edge, just in case people have a little bit of wonky printers. I don't care if the jellies or coral gets cut off a little bit because those are easy to add in your own, but I want the characters right in center. Cool, that looks really good. And I keep saying that. Cool. Good enough. And then this is always really fun because when you can offer it, you can always say, oh, add in, more jellies or add in this, and let them really have fun with this blank space back there. And what would be even cooler is to add in some bubbles. Bubbles are always fun. So with coloring pages, I feel like a little bit of blank space is okay, but that was way too much up there. We'll maybe make some bubbles coming up from Ogwe. And there are bubbles in the original illustration, but they are more artistic and fit into the illustration better than these do. So again, don't be afraid to add elements that were not originally there to your coloring page. Awesome. So I'm just gonna clean up a little bit of these bubbles. Alright. I think that is good to go. Now, if you are giving this away for free and this isn't something that you're selling or in a part of a coloring book you are making, what I always like to do is remind them where they got it from. And this isn't just to promote yourself. This is also because people will forget, or they'll hang it on their fridge and go, oh man, what was that? What story was that? And they'll forget. And if you have your information on there, they will be able to go to your website and look it up, and or buy your story if they aren't already people who bought your story. I'm just trying to find a pretty place to place this, because obviously we just don't want to do something crazy like that. We're giving this away for free. We want to be kind and have kids have fun with our stories and characters without overly putting ourselves in the way. What is that? Okay, that doesn't look bad. And then what I'll do again is turn on the opacity a little bit, make it a little bit lighter, because again, I don't want somebody to draw this beautiful picture and then have my website ruining it. But I do want them to remember where it's from. That way they can go back and print more or tell their friends. I'm just going to make that fit in a little bit better. No, what? There we go. Awesome, that's super subtle. Yeah, because that's not... Okay. I don't like... Again, I hate when there's... It's like, oh, you get it for free, but here's my name all over it. But that's nice. That's nice and hidden in there. Cool. So I'm actually getting carried away. I want to add a few little spots on my jellyfish. Just because, again, this is for a younger audience, so they're not going to add as many things on their own. They will want to fill it in. Again, if the illustrations aren't your own, please, as a former book illustrator and an illustrator for myself, go ask your illustrator for their permission before you guys break a contract or get in trouble. You definitely don't want to do that, and I'm sure most of you have probably pretty good relationships with your illustrators, so just ask and be safe. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. I love it. Cool. So now we are going to go to File, Export, Export As. And I'm going to do a JPEG. You guys could also do a PNG, but it doesn't really matter because the background's white. Okay, so I've saved that and now I am good to go. I really hope this tutorial has helped, and I hope you guys enjoyed this coloring book page as well as creating your own. I will see you all in the next tutorial, and if there's something you want to learn, please let me know down in the comments, or if you have any questions about this video and I didn't explain something well enough, just let me know and I will try and explain it so you guys can go ahead and start creating your own. We'll see you all next time. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe.